Did former President George W. Bush take a swipe at President Donald Trump and Trump voters? Hey everybody, I'm Chad Hasty, host of the Chad Hasty Show, which airs weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 a.m. KFYO. Former President George W. Bush speaking in New York at a George W. Bush Institute event earlier on Thursday. And without using Donald Trump's name, he seemed to take on many of the ideals or things that have been assigned to Donald Trump, including nationalism, but also a lot of other things like, bigotry and racism. Let's take a look at just some of the quotes that former President Bush said, quote, "Bigotry seems emboldened. Our politics seem more vulnerable to conspiracy theories and outright fabrication." Well, okay. Bigotry seems emboldened. Is it? I don't really know if it is or not. It's definitely been out there, but it's been out there forever. In fact, if you remember, it was the left during the Obama era who said that Republicans, that all the time that Republicans were racist, that if you didn't support Barack Obama, it was probably because you were racist, that white, older Republican voters were racist. That's where a lot of this really got kicked up under the past administration. Black Lives Matter got kicked up under the Obama administration. The false narrative that you have white cops who are going out and seeking to kill young black men, that was going on during the Obama administration. I'm not so sure that bigotry has been emboldened by Donald Trump. Has he been as quick to, I guess blame the white nationalist as the media would want him to? No. But you never heard the media ask Barack Obama to go after different groups that were racist in his under his administration. You never heard any of that. Let's see here. Our politics seems more vulnerable to conspiracy theories and outright fabrication. Let's not forget, Mr. President, that 9/11 was a pretty big conspiracy theory for a lot of people who believed that America was the one who brought down the Twin Towers. But our politics seems more vulnerable to conspiracy theories. I think that's more of a shot at Alex Jones and InfoWars. And outright fabrication, well, if you go back and look at a recent poll that was done by the Morning Consult and Politico, 46% of Americans believe that the mainstream media makes up stories against Donald Trump. 46%. So there's got to be something there on that, and it's not Donald Trump's fault. I would say that's the mainstream media's fault. Here we go. Now, this is a direct shot at Trump and Trump voters here from the former president. Quote, "We've seen nationalism distorted into nativism. Also we've seen our discourse degraded by casual cruelty. Argument turns too easily into animosity." I don't know if you blame Trump on that or if you blame social media on that. There were some interesting polls that were done during the election and then right after the election that showed Republicans were more likely to be friends with and continue to be friends with Hillary supporters rather than Hillary supporters becoming friends and staying friends with Trump supporters. I think there's enough evidence out there that shows that it's the left in America that actually has much more animosity towards the right in America. They will stop being friends with you. They will stop following you on Twitter or Facebook, or if you're family members, they'll get mad at you. Friendships have eroded and gone away because of the politics and the political divide in America. But I would say, if you look at polls that were done, it's mainly from the left side. Granted, there are some on the right who refuse to be friends with those on the left, and I think both is completely wrong. I think that you can have your disagreements, and you should be able to have your disagreements and keep your friendships as well. President said it means that bigotry and white supremacy in any form is blasphemy against the American creed, and it means the very identity of our nation depends on passing along civic ideals. Listen, I agree with the president on that. I guess it's a shot at Trump, but it's a shot at Trump and this perceived racism and bigotry that Trump and Trump supporters have, which again is not new because Democrats for a long time have passed along this idea that Republicans are racist, Republicans are evil. Quote, bullying and prejudice in our public life provides permission for cruelty and bigotry. That right there, shot at President Trump for being the mean bully that he really is. Quote, the only way to pass along civic values is to live up to them. That, once again, I think another shot at President Trump. So, okay, you have George W. Bush here. He's got quite a few quotes that he went through, taking shots at Trumpism and nationalism. But I think you can also say that a lot of this has nothing to do with Donald Trump. If he were to boil it down, and others were to boil it down, a lot of this has to do with, one, social media, and the fact that everyone can put out their thoughts at any time. Also, things like YouTube. If you go through comment sections of even some of my past videos, some of the commenters are as racist as they can be. Why? Because they believe they're anonymous and they're posting anonymously, and they act like they're keyboard warriors. Sitting at home and typing away and saying things that they would never say in person or face to face with anybody. But they sit behind a desk, they sit behind the computer, they're keyboard warriors, and they type out something racist. It's pretty sad, but I don't think you can really blame Donald Trump for that. Has Donald Trump, changed public discourse? Maybe he has, and maybe he's brought it down from what we used to see under Obama and Bush and others. But listen, former presidents have cussed before. Former presidents have said cruel things before. Former presidents have said things that you may not want to hear on an open mic before. It's happened before. Now, as far as civic discourse goes, let's look at, down here in Texas, a Democrat who is running against Ted Cruz for U.S. Senate, Beto O'Rourke. He drops the F-bomb in just about every public speech that he gives. And I don't see the media saying, oh, look, public discourse is going down because of O'Rourke. No, it's only Trump who is being blamed for that. This idea that Trump is promoting racism and bigotry, I don't think so. I don't think he is. I think that's a talking point of the left and of Republicans who just don't like Donald Trump and will never like Donald Trump. For George W. Bush here, I know he wants to speak his mind. He's still, the Bush family, they can't stand Donald Trump because of what happened to Jeb. There's been this back and forth going on for a long time between Bush and Trump. My hope is that Trump will leave this alone. The former president did not mention Trump by name. He only talked about ideals and things that he sees going on. My hope is that this will kind of be set aside. One thing that I think George Bush nails in this is that we can all be better people. We can all have better arguments. We can all have better debates. That is something that I think we can all strive for. Tune in to the Chad Hasty Show weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time. News Talk, 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. Have a great weekend.